Hi, everyone. Welcome to this webinar. I am so excited to spend some time with you this afternoon, and I'm really glad you're here. Look, job searching or helping navigate to whatever is next for your career is stressful. I put this webinar together for you because sometimes we have to breathe a little life into our job search. And you probably have been doing some things and probably getting some good results. But if you're looking for a few different ideas to help you to navigate this job search just a little bit differently, you're in the right place. Because I'm going to show you a few things today to really help you re-energize your job search in a way that is going to answer all of the questions you have. Well, at least some of the questions you have. And certainly, if you want to ask me questions during the webinar, by all means, feel free to go ahead, post it into the chat, and I will be happy to get them answered for you. All right. So here's the thing. Most of us, I think fair enough to say, either own a car or have driven a car. Cars are important, right? They allow us to get us from one place to the next. But when our cars break down, we're probably not the best person to fix it. My dad managed a service station on the New Jersey Turnpike, and he prided himself on the fact that he could fix a lot of cars that came in that had problems. Now, obviously, as technology advanced and he got a little bit older and retired, he certainly took his car to the dealership just like I did. But he always stressed the importance for me about knowing some of the basics in at least checking to make sure the car was operational, and that if I had things like a flat tire, I could certainly fix it myself. That's about the extent of how much I can do with my car, right? And there are times when our cars break down that we need a little bit of help, right? We need to call a tow, or we need to call AAA or somebody to give us some roadside assistance to help us. The same thing is true in your job search. You've done a lot of things on your own and probably gotten by okay. But in helping mid-career professionals, what we know is that these navigations sometimes are a little more complicated. They're a little more complex than just getting a job right out of college. And so think of me as your tow truck today. I'm going to move you along and help you get to your destination maybe a little bit quicker, and certainly with a whole lot less stress. You're not going to have to fix the car yourself. I'm here to help you. Okay. All right. So let's start with a few questions. Right now, what's working well for your job search? What are the things that you're happy about? If you have some pencil and paper or paper and pen, or you want to open up a notepad file on your device, go ahead and do that. But take a couple of seconds right here to just jot down what's working well in your job search. Now, the other thing is what's not working well. And one of those things may be you just haven't found a job yet. Maybe you're getting interviews, but you're not getting to the final round, or you're not getting the offer. Maybe you're not really good at networking and feel like you need to do some of that, but are just unsure how to go about doing that. And lastly, what do you feel like you need to learn to help you in your job search? You're here for this webinar for a reason. So what is it that you want to learn that you believe is going to help you accelerate on your path? Okay. All right. Now, here's what you're going to learn today. You're going to look at some common practices and potential pitfalls that may stall your job search efforts. There's a lot of things that you may be doing that aren't really helping you. So we're going to talk about those. You're going to evaluate your efforts. And the goal here today is to take one action step that's going to help you re-energize your job search. I don't want this webinar to be something where you're going to sit here and go, there's 25 things I need to do right now. You're just going to get overwhelmed and you're not going to do it. Let's get really clear about one potential action step that you can do. want you to get your questions answered. So if you have questions, put them in the chat or certainly wait till the end. I'm happy to answer those. And lastly, I want you to stay tuned to the very end of this webinar because I've got some exciting offers to help you and some great resources that are at no cost that you're going to be able to access at the end of this webinar. All right. Let's talk about this. Let's self-assess a little bit. What is happening in your job search right now? What's your search strategy? In other words, when you go looking for a job, where do you look? Is it online at places like LinkedIn or Indeed? Or are you looking somewhere else? And how many message alerts do you get per day or per week saying a new position was uploaded for this job, or a company is looking for this person for this kind of job? How many of those are you getting in your inbox every day? And are they serving you or are they overwhelming you? What's your application process? How good is your resume? How good's your cover letter? Are you customizing your resume to every job position you're applying to? What's your networking strategy? Are you actively reaching out to colleagues or new connections that may be valuable resources for you in this job search process? What's your interview preparation like? So when you know you are getting the interview, what things are you doing to prepare? How good are you at the one-way virtual interview? How good are you at panel interviews? How well do you navigate a Zoom interview when you're talking to someone on the other end? And for some of you, how are you doing with the in-person interviews? Because in-person interviews are back. Maybe not fully, but they're definitely coming back. Are you not getting the job offer? Are you repeatedly getting close, but then not getting the offer? Finding that the job went to somebody else, or an internal candidate got the position, or somebody with more experience. What if you're getting job offers, but they're not suitable? Maybe they're not matching your wish list or your want list for things regarding compensation and benefits, maybe remote work or title. And how clear are you about what steps to take? What's coming up next for you in all of this? All right, let's get this out of the way. Just a few things. So in case you don't know me, my name is John Neral. I'm an executive and career transition coach, and I primarily help mid-career professionals prepare, position, and promote who they are and what they do so they can show up to find a job they love or love the job they have. I had a 25-year career in education that started out as a middle school mathematics teacher, and I advanced into several leadership roles within my school district. And in 2010, right when I was 41 years old, I did a huge pivot and left a very stable, tenured, six-figured position to go work for the District of Columbia Public Schools, where I supervised 21 instructional coaches across 13 middle schools. It was the advancement that I was looking for, both personally as well as professionally. And I love that job. And it set me up for a few other jobs that came after that, including serving as a training and staffing director for an educational nonprofit. But when I realized that I was stuck, that there weren't the opportunities available to myself where I was working, and while I was doing great work, and on some level, I was happy there, more so I wasn't. I wasn't personally and professionally satisfied where I was. And after many serious conversations, and intentional ones at that, I made a conscious decision to leave because I had an opportunity to serve more people outside my organization than internally. So I took the leap and I opened my coaching practice full-time in 2017, and I have loved this entire journey. Now, the other thing is that I am the author of 2 books. Show Up was my first book, called 6 Strategies to Lead a More Energetic and Impactful Career. And just last month, I launched my second book called Your Mid-Career GPS, 4 Steps to Figuring Out What's Next. It is essentially that roadmap or tactical guide for you to navigate your career transition and to do it without a whole lot of stress or overwhelm so you can create your next advancement opportunity. I'm so honored and excited about the reviews that are coming in on both books, but specifically Your Mid-Career GPS right now, and some of the feedback that I've gotten. I'm so proud of both of these books. They're both available on Amazon. Certainly go check them out. But the other thing, because we can't just be all about work, the one thing I want you to know about me today is I'm a huge game show fanatic. That's a picture of me on Game Show Network's Chain Reaction back in 2005 or 2006. And that was the very first clue that I was able to guess in the chain: podcast. And I'm very happy to say that I am the host of the Mid-Career GPS podcast. I know, a little cheesy segue, but there you go. I love this podcast because I get to talk about topics and questions and issues related to navigating a career transition, as well as the leadership concerns that mid-career professionals have. It's a combination between me sharing information with you and talking to amazing guests who come on the air just to share their mid-career story and what it's been like for them, and let them give their advice to you about how they would help you build their mid-career GPS. You can find it on all the major listening platforms. Certainly, please kindly go subscribe and listen to that as well. All right, here it is. Here's your mid-career GPS. It's composed of 4 key anchors: preparation, positioning, promoting, and how we show up. When I work with my clients, be it individually or in group, I'm walking them through all 4 of these steps to help them navigate to whatever is next in their career. And today we're going to talk a little bit about that. So let's take a look at your job search results. When you think about the jobs you're applying to, are you missing the target or are you hitting them? Here's what I mean by this. When you look at jobs online, are you looking at them and saying to yourself, I could do that. That sounds interesting. I don't have that experience. Yeah, I don't have that degree, but I have those skills. Or are you looking at the job posting and saying, here's where I can add value. Here's where I can help them. Here's where I'm good at. Please understand that when companies post positions, they're essentially doing a laundry list. And they're not really expecting that they're going to find someone with 100% of that criteria. It's a wish list on their part. And if it happens, they're thrilled. But the reality is they cast a very broad net in the job posting to get a wider pool of applicants that they in turn can select to have that first round interview. Now, when you're looking at those job postings, are you coming from a place of abundance? Here's how I can help them. Here's all the skills I have. Or are you looking at those job postings and immediately checking off all of the things that you don't have, you're not good at, or you don't think they would want to hire you because? How you look at these job postings is key to how you build that GPS and navigate your job search. I want you to be really clear and specific around the things that are in your bullseye, the things that are going to specifically help you to identify those skills in the job posting that are going to be of value to a future employer. That's where the gold is. That's why when you're clear about how you can help somebody, you look at job postings very, very differently. The answer to these 3 questions really are the foundation for your job search. Who do you help? What do you help them do specifically? And why is this work important to you? Now, as a former math teacher, I can geek out all day long on this Venn diagram. However, it is the intersection of those three circles, the answers that are shared and combined for those three questions that make up what I like to call your unique professional value statement. It's how you show up. It's how you communicate your value to somebody. Notice that when I introduced myself, I didn't just say I was an executive and career transition coach. I also said that I help mid-career professionals prepare, position, and promote who they are and what they do so they can show up to find a job they love or love the job they have. That's my unique professional value, and I share it as often as I can. The more I share my value, the more I'm putting myself out there to see who I can help. And I meet some amazing people who need my help. You, for example, for being on this webinar. And that's where I know I get to do my best work. What is your best work? What does that look like for you? In my book, Show Up, I talk about using our genius. And our genius is that thing that sets us apart from everybody else. There's a lot of people out there who work in accounting or who are educators or project managers or healthcare workers. But the way you do that job is something unique to you. That's what you need to lean in on. That's what will help boost your job search a little bit because you are clearer, more so than ever, about the value you're providing. You should all have a resume. Let me be clear, the resume serves only one purpose, and that's to get you an interview. Yes, it describes who you are and how well you do it and should state your value and showcase your skills and everything. And depending on the position you're applying to, you do want to find that balance between here's the things that I've done, here's the impact that I've made. The higher we get along in our career, the more advanced we get along in our career, we want the resume to reflect more impact-driven results as opposed to just a checklist of job duties. So, how good is your resume? Are you customizing your resume before you send it out? Are you? Or do you just take that resume and just click apply and you're like, okay, I'm done with it? Oh, excuse me. If you are not customizing your resume to the job posting for each position you are applying to, by pulling in the keywords and phrases from the job posting into your resume, you are making a huge mistake. While I won't spend a lot of time on this, companies do use something called an applicant tracking system to initially screen and compare your resume to the job posting. As the applicant, you never know what the first criteria is to match and see whether or not your resume gets pulled to be looked by a representative from HR or a hiring manager or not. To give yourself the greatest chance, you need to be customizing your resume. Look for those key verbs and phrases in the job posting and make sure they are in there. If the job position says led, and your resume says coordinated, those are two totally different things. It needs to say led in order to match correctly. If you have tremendous customer service experience, but the resume says client, you need to pull in what the client work is like. Excuse me. Oh, my apologies. My allergies are kicking me today. Okay. So it is important to do that cross-check. But here is a piece of data I need to share with you that in all honesty, can be a little disconcerting, but hopefully makes you feel a little bit better. It's about your application response rate. What we know right now is if your resume is getting a 10% response rate, meaning that if you were to send in 10 applications for positions and you got a response from one of them that said, we'd like to welcome you to invite you to a first round interview, or thank you, but you're not going to move forward. That counts as a response, and 10% right now is good. If we can get it to 25%, we say it's really good. 40% is excellent. What that means is that if you're playing the numbers game, you are going to send out a lot of resumes and not get a lot of responses. Companies are overloaded and overwhelmed. And in all honesty, they may not have the bandwidth to actually acknowledge every single applicant that applies. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying right now, that's what we're seeing. So hopefully that helps you at least a little bit with the barometer in terms of expectations, but there are things that you can do to help navigate this a little bit more, right? So for a lot of my clients, networking is scary. And honestly, there have been many times in my career where it's been scary for me as well. Networking is about building relationships. And first and foremost, we want to come from a place of service. Think of it as how you can be a valuable resource to somebody else. Are you a connector? Are you willing to introduce them to people in your network? Do you have great information to share with them? Think about where you can serve a new networking connection and why that's advantageous to them. I recently did a podcast episode. I want to say it's episode 53, around explaining the differences between cold networking and warm networking. And I give you some examples in that episode for both. But essentially, cold networking is reaching out to somebody who you don't know. And warm networking is somebody whom you've already connected with. You may have worked with previously, went to school with them or whatever, and you just haven't engaged with them in a while. So you're going to warm them up a little bit, but there's already some familiarity there. But here's a question my clients ask me a lot. What happens when your network can't help you? If you feel as if you've exhausted everybody in your network, have tapped them out for ideas or suggestions, or even maybe moving your resume up in their company or showing it to a human resources professional, if that's happened, the way to re-energize this part of your job search is to start pulling new people in. Do informational interviews, invite people to a virtual coffee, ask them what they do, be really curious about the companies they work for, the clients they help, the work that they do on a day-to-day basis, and see if that aligns to where you see as your ideal fit. Pulling in new people in your network is a great way to breathe life into it and certainly re-energize your network. You have to generate interest during an interview. There needs to be engagement. And let me acknowledge that over the last year and a half, where we've been doing more virtual interviews and working remotely, that it's a different kind of connection, without a doubt. You have to find a way to get people interested in who you are and what you do, as opposed to just finding you interesting. Look, we're all interesting people. But if I get you interested in me a little bit more, you're going to want to know something. Now, I shared something with you at the beginning of the webinar about my podcast and about being a huge game show fanatic. You probably remembered that. That's the kind of thing. Find that unique thing that's going to stand out a little bit. I always would go into interviews and I would share that I was a game show fanatic. And I pretty much guaranteed that nobody else was going to say that. Find that thing that gets people interested in a little more about who you are and what you do. Maybe you've done some interesting travel. Maybe you've won an award that people aren't familiar with. Maybe you are a professional athlete in some way. Whatever that is, find the way to generate that interest, because that's what's going to make the connection. That's what's going to help you either build a relationship to get invited to the next round. And if you don't, there's a slight possibility there you might be able to get some feedback around how well you did in the interview. I love this quote by Nora O'Donnell, and I put this in here very specifically because it sums up so much of where we need to come from when we're networking and when we're interviewing. She says, quote, "One of the most common mistakes for an entry-level job interview is to take the position, what is this job going to do for me? You should be saying, here's what I can do, and here's what I want to do to help you." Coming from that place of value and service and communicating how you can help someone is key, without a doubt. Nobody in an interview wants to hear how great you are. They want to know how you're going to help them. What's your unique professional value? Who do you help? What do you help them do specifically? Why is that important to you? This ever happened to you? Companies will ghost. Sad but true, companies will. They're just overloaded. They're overwhelmed. Again, I'm not saying it's right, but it's part of the process. One of the things that I coach my clients hard on is getting them to set some ground rules at the end of the interview so they know what the follow-up looks like. If you're not clear about when they're going to follow up and the next steps that happen if they don't, you're going to end up spinning your wheels and creating a lot of mind drama around whether you're going to hear or not. Are they going to offer you the job? Are they offering it to somebody else? Be in control. You have a lot of control in this situation. Once you know when they're going to follow up and you have a plan to follow up with them if they don't, move on to the next position. Keep your job search efforts going, forward momentum to whatever is going to be next for you. But you have to be prepared for this and take some time to reflect on how you did with the job interview. I have my clients use a job search tracker, and part of that job search tracker includes reflection questions on every interview they go on. So they have that to go back and look at the next time they go for an interview, and they know what to do again and what not to do. 3 questions are, what did I do well? What did I learn? What do I need to work on for next time? And I mentioned earlier about this one-way virtual interview. To explain it, it's essentially where you get a link to record your answers to a series of interview questions that are either on the screen, or you'll get a recorded video from somebody and it'll say something like, "Hi, John, tell me about yourself." And then you'll have a minute or two to record your answer. Sometimes they only allow for a certain number of takes, or they may give you an unlimited number of takes. You record your answer, you click submit, you go to the next question. Companies are moving to this because it's actually more efficient for them to do so. And while you may think it's a little impersonal, and I'm not going to dispute that with you, from the company's standpoint, it's helping them screen more applicants so they can put the best talent forward. You need to be really good at interviewing, and specifically at the one-way virtual interview. How do you do that? You practice. You practice, you train, you role play. You get someone to feed you interview questions, or you turn on your smartphone or a video camera on your computer and you record an answer, and you look for things such as your use of filler words, what you say versus what you don't, and how well you say it. So you got to practice. You got to practice those things. And lastly, it's all about closing the deal. When you get to that point, if you have done all the work in building your GPS and you've breathed the right kind of life into your job search here, you're going to be so clear about what you want, what you need, where you'll compromise, and where you'll settle. It is a give and take at that point when you get the offer. It is your best time to negotiate, hands down, at the point of hire. So if there's things you want regarding your salary, your benefits, time off, working remotely, whatever those things are, you have to know what they are, because when that offer comes, you're just going to have a negotiations conversation. You're going to ask, you're going to see if they're going to give. Okay? So closing the deal is important. Now, we've talked about a lot of things on today's webinar, and hopefully you found some things that have been helpful for you to give you some ideas. I've shared some advice or guidance, and now what I want to do is talk a little bit with you about some additional support if you're interested in that. Okay. I want you to go to my website at johnneral.com. Right there on the homepage is a button to download all of the free resources from my book, Your Mid-Career GPS. It includes the job search tracker I told you about earlier. It includes a pro and con list to help you decide any kind of decisions around a certain position or company to work for. It just gives you a concrete idea of listing things out in a plus or positive or negative, or a pro or con type column, and then scoring it to see where you think you're landing at this point. It's really just designed to help you make a consideration in your decision. Okay. But it's a useful tool there. And lastly, you're going to get all of the journal and reflection questions from my new book. I will tell you, I did that because I tend to like reading on my device, but I don't like taking notes on my device. So with a book like mine, I wanted to create the PDF so you could use it essentially as a journal. Now, if you get the book, if you get the paperback, you've got space in the book to actually write in, but the journal questions will really help you. You do need the book to go along with it. So again, go to Amazon and kindly get the book. I'm also inviting you to join my private Facebook group. It is called Your Mid-Career GPS. You get to join a wonderful group of talented professionals just like yourself who are all struggling with trying to figure out whatever is next for their career. We talk about various career transition and leadership topics. It's a great and engaging community. Would love to have you join. You just need to answer the membership questions, agree to the rules, because it's important for me to keep it as a safe space, and certainly welcome you into the group. And lastly, I want you to subscribe to the Mid-Career GPS podcast. Put me in your ears once or twice a week, and let's really work at building your mid-career GPS together. Now, here's one other thing that I have for you today. There, by the way, there's the website if you want to just go see the homepage and all of that to get the free resources, and a link right to join the Facebook group. If you want to do a little bit more, I've got this challenge for you, and it is called the 14-day Build Your Mid-Career GPS Challenge. If you're ready to take the leap and leave everybody behind and move your career forward, this challenge is for you. All right. Here are the details. So we start Wednesday, September 15th, and we end on Tuesday, September 28th. You're going to get daily lessons and action steps to help you re-energize your job search in focusing on how you are preparing, positioning, promoting, and showing up to build your mid-career GPS. We're going to have a private Facebook group for the challenge where I'm going to upload every day's video and lesson for you. Let me just say, I've done challenges before and I kind of find them a little overwhelming. This is not going to be overwhelming, though there is going to be a little time and effort into doing it. It's why it's a challenge, but it's there for you. It's for Q&A. It's for motivation. It's for inspiration, and also to celebrate. We need to be celebrating a little bit more, even if it's something you think as simple as, I just submitted for a job today. You're putting yourself out there. We need to celebrate it. Now, there is a cost to this, right? The cost very simply is $49. And I'll have a link for you if you want to go there and join the challenge. Again, we start on September 15th. Would love to have you join and be a part of that. Okay. Well, I want to thank you for taking some time with me today. I hope you enjoyed the information in the webinar. And if you have any further questions or information, you can certainly email me at john@johnneral.com or message me in the Facebook group. You can certainly do that as well. But today's purpose was just to give you a few things to help you re-energize your job search. It's hard, it's difficult, and it's also personal. What works for somebody else may not necessarily work for you. It's why our GPSs are individual, they're specific, and they're personal. There are times when we get in our own heads. We question whether we're really worth it. We compare ourselves to other people, and we might see other people getting progress where we're not, or we think we should, but just hasn't happened yet. Your job search is yours. It isn't anybody else's. That's why building your GPS is vital to your success. And I look forward to helping you with that in whatever capacity that is. I end my podcast with this saying, remember, we build our GPSs 1 mile or 1 step at a time, and how we show up matters. Thank you for spending some time with me today. I look forward to seeing you either in the 14-day GPS challenge or in my private Facebook group. Until next time, my friends, take care. Thank you.